Aloha and welcome to Live at the Legislature. I'm Jill Kuramoto. Every week we sit down with Hawaii senators to talk about the issues and the events that are happening within the Senate during this legislative session. Joining us this morning is Senator Carl Rhodes. Senator Rhodes represents District 13, which is Nu'uanu to downtown, and Senator Rhodes is also the chair of the Senate Committee on Water and Land. Also joining us is Senator Gil Riviere. Senator Riviere represents District 23, which encompasses Wailua to Haleiwa to Kaneohe to Kunia, and he's also a member of the Senate Committee on Water and Land. Good morning to both of you. Thank you for joining us. I know that your committee deals with a wide variety of issues, everything from state planning to water and land sustainability and fisheries, harbors, transit-oriented development. Let's talk about one of the key resolutions that has come out of your committee this session so far, and that includes climate change, how to address climate change. Senate Concurrent Resolution 177 calls for stronger action to be taken following the recommendations of the Hawaii Sea Level Rise and Vulnerability and Adaptation Report that came out late last year. Senator, you also had a bill that calls for stronger action from the Climate Commission following this report. Tell us about the need for this initiative.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, it's fairly obvious that we have climate change is happening and the sea level is rising, and we're going to have to decide how to deal with that as an island state. Obviously, it affects us more than it would in Missouri, for example. So, the bottom line is we're going to have to retreat. We're going to have to retreat from the shore, otherwise the ocean is going to retreat for us, and that's what we're grappling with.
It's a problem that's so complex, and it's easy to say we'll do managed retreat, or we'll do this, or we'll look at the sea level rise that's coming and the erosion. Whether or not you agree with the sea level rise, things are clearly eroding and the coastline is moving. But it affects our wildlife, our endangered species, because as climate changes, as in our endangered species retreat further up into the mountains, everything is changing on this island. So it's not impacting only the people who live on the shore, but everybody and everything in Hawaii.
Exactly. On that same topic, there is the Senate Concurrent Resolution 63, which allows for a seawall to be built off Kahana Beach on Maui. That's to preserve the shoreline that's been eroding for several years now. And I know this particular resolution has garnered a lot of community attention, and I guess the question is, does this set a precedent for other projects or roadways that are going to be affected by sea level rise and climate change?
Well, we pass these kinds of resolutions all the time. Last year and years past, they don't draw as much attention as this one. But this is where the policy question really where the rubber meets the road, because it's pretty hard to say to somebody, hey, look, you know what? Your house is on the edge of the water, and we're not going to let you armor the shore anymore, and it's going to fall in the water. And who's going to pay for that? You may have lived there for generations, but so that's what we're grappling with there. The problem is, if you armor part of the shore, then other parts of the shore are affected. If you armor the shore, the beach disappears, and there's a lot of questions about how we're going to deal with that. What criteria we use for when we say no, you can't armor, or when we say yeah, it's justified in this situation. So that's what that reso's about, and that's what the committee's dealing with.
Many of the resolutions are for seawalls that have been there for a period of time, and maybe there's been erosion, or maybe somebody put a seawall in, and the Board of Land and Natural Resources is trying to get back control of the beaches. Because if you start armoring beaches, Sunset Beach is particularly vulnerable right now. We've seen a lot of erosion right in the middle of my district, and if we were to allow people to start armoring the shoreline, it'll just make that erosion occur more quickly. I think this resolution in Maui, we had a very robust discussion the other day in committee. I think the key on that one is the buildings are very close to the shoreline, and now they're asking to go out into the sea. They're not retreating, so where is that managed retreat? And as the chair said, it's difficult when you actually talk about the specific case. Why can't you save your house, but the state will save that highway? Why can we armor the highway, but you can't save your house? And that's part of this big discussion which we're trying to grapple with.
Right, and this is a really long term.
Yeah, it's long term, and it's not just that particular case. I mean, if you look at that area, most of it's armored already, And in that particular case, the edge of the closest building is only, I don't know, 50 feet, maybe less than that, 35 feet. Other places I've stayed on the Big Island, or relatives of mine have stayed on the Big Island, the water's breaking 6 feet from their lanai, you know, and yeah, it's great when you're on vacation for a few days, but you know, when the waves are 3 feet higher and they're breaking into your living room, that's an entirely different matter.
Exactly, exactly. So this is going to be a topic that really is a difficult one, and
It's going to be around as long as we're
right, and this is
in
something that's
office.
going to be in discussion for quite some
Yeah.
time. I think we have a little bit of time left to talk about transit-oriented development, which has become a key issue, especially in regards to affordable housing. And SCR 50 proposes a closer look at the communities that are being impacted by the rail system. And describe the intent behind this resolution.
Well, it's we have these special districts. The state does in Kaka'ako. There's one in Kalaeloa, and there's another one I'm not thinking of right at the moment.
Hey.
That's right. And they've been there a long time. There's some controversy as to whether they still need to be there, or maybe there's other special districts that need to be created for particular reasons. And that's what this res is about, just to look at what we should do in relation to rail, and whether the state should take special development interest in a particular part of the island.
Yeah, I would agree. It's the right time to look at these agencies. The Kaka'ako development, we've created that agency some years ago, and then Kalaeloa and Ahei. And so now let's look at this and the management of it and our designs towards that future that we're trying to accomplish here with planned development.
Exactly. I know that. No.
But I would say on the rail side of it, where these special districts are next to rail, one of the big ideas was rail. It's not just moving people back and forth, but it's also focusing development along the rail line. And so this is another reason this is an ideal time to look at that question.
Exactly. And I'm guessing the city would like to have control back too.
That's a good question. I don't know.
Well, they should, because if the state says we're going to build 12 more high-rises, but by the way, city, you've got to make sure you have enough water and sewer system and highway capacity for that. I think the city should have a greater say. Personally, I'm all in support of the city getting back their authority.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. Very interesting discussion. A lot of long-term ideas that we have to start thinking about, and some tough decisions to be made.
It's not easy.
It's not easy. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jill.
And thank you for watching Live at the Legislature. You can stay up to date on all the Senate actions on the legislature's website, capitol.hawaii.gov. We'll see you next week.